ISIS, ISIS, ISIS. The stupid arguments just never end. They go and do one cruel beheading, and even liberals are losing their minds. Then you have people like John McCain, who lost his mind some damn time ago, is doing the same tired old arguments. I'm tired of posting the blame on the USA for the problems in the Middle East. Yes, we did destabilize the region by removing Saddam. Yes, we did make Iran a regional power by removing Saddam. But Obama has not helped the situation by embracing the Muslim Brotherhood, by not allowing the Libyan civil war to follow its own path, and instead interfering and giving support to the rebels, which have proven to be radical, to say the least, and not friends of the USA. That he continues to stick with the Muslim Brotherhood, even though the people of Egypt and the military have said they had enough. In Iraq, and repeating it in Afghanistan, they have this belief that somehow or another, if you just provide enough material, that the people will do the right thing. Well, Iraq has shown how that material doesn't do a damn bit of good without someone willing to use it. And with all of the attacks by, what do they call them, green-coated Taliban on our troops, it's not working there either. And the problem is, they want us to fight wars with rules. There was a general, I fear that I cannot remember his name. I believe it was Civil War. He said that wars are held for a reason, so that people are not eager to fight them again. And yet we are trying to make a war that is docile, that is honorable. We're trying to remove the concept of collateral damage. We are trying to go into areas where the enemy does not wear a uniform. Identify him when we do not understand the culture, and defeat him. Our rules of engagement are so ass backwards that you're not asking for military. You're asking for a police force. And you're asking foreigners to be able to police an indigenous population. We can't do that. That is next to impossible. So, how do we solve the present situation? Well, first thing we need to do is quit sending our troops any place in the world where they don't have a clear, defined mission. I know I don't sound very conservative, do I? Well, trust me, I am, because I have no problem sending our troops anyplace. If it is in the U.S. interest, I say send them. If we can justify it, if we can justify the loss of life, and I'm not talking about the enemy. I don't care about the enemy's loss of life. I'm talking about our loss of life. If we can justify the bloodshed, the blood of Americans, the sacrifice our soldiers put forth, if that can be justified for our interests, the interests of the USA, not the interests of the UN, not in humanitarian missions, not in peacekeeping missions, none of that crap, but justified in the interest of the United States of America, then yes, I say I have no problem sending our military off. But I want to change the rules of engagement. I don't want to restrict their rules of engagement. I want their mission to be go in, kick the living shit out of the enemy, and get the fuck out. And if we're not going to get out, well, keep on kicking the shit out of the enemy and keep them the fuck down. Period. End of story. I don't care about the loss of life. I don't care about the loss of enemy life anyways. I don't care about the loss of innocence. I don't care about collateral damage. If I was Israel and I was having to deal with Hamas, I'd create a civil war in Gaza. I'd tell the people of Gaza, you're going to have to do something with your own problem, because if they keep on firing missiles at us, we're going to carpet bomb the whole Gaza Strip. We are going to turn the whole Gaza Strip into basically a no man's land that's going to resemble World War I. There won't be two stones left touching each other. And I'd applaud Israel. I go, good job. That's the way you deal with it. Make sure that there are no more Hamas there. And we need to come in with a force that will leave fear not only in the survivors, but in the entire region. And with how modern media and the internet is able to spread news around the world, that the whole world will remember. We can come in and we can completely obliterate any enemy in a blitzkrieg fashion that is so quick and so overwhelming that the world has never seen anything like it. And you do not want to mess with us. End of story. Now, if we do that, I doubt that we'll have many problems. It will make strong-arm democracy, strong-arm diplomacy, my apologies, a simpler task, as long as we don't abuse it. The other thing that we need to do is fight proxy wars. We're doing that already. But we need to pick our allies better. We have this very bad habit of believing that the enemy of our enemy is our friend. That's not necessarily true. That was what Reagan did in the 80s in Afghanistan to help defeat the Russians, and now we're dealing with it 30 years later. I know I'm going to catch hell from a lot of people that love Reagan, but it's the truth. That's a little bit of a short-sighted approach. If I can't picture myself sitting down with you and dealing with you on a long-term basis, then I have to be in a really desperate situation to deal with you today. So we need to support the Kurds, despite how much it pisses off Turkey. Because Turkey's worried about the Kurds forming Kurdistan, and then Turkey has their own Kurdish minority. And they're worried about certain demands on Turkish land. Well, Turkey really is not following a path that is in the U.S. national interests. So personally, I would side with the Kurds, because if we embrace the Kurds, we help the Kurds, we will have a loyal friend and a loyal ally. We also need to stick behind Israel 100%. Israel is the smallest nation in the Middle East, one of the smallest populations, and they could kick the living shit out of any country in the Middle East. They've proven that time and again. There's not a country in the Middle East that can stand up to Israel. Israel has the discipline, they have the training, they have the drive. They're not to be messed with. So obviously, I believe we need to stand 100% with Israel because Israel has always stood with us. From there, it's an open argument. We should actually work with Putin. I'm sorry, I don't care about the Ukraine. But what I do care about is radical Islam. And Putin understands this because Russia fought a war in Chechnya for over a decade. And it still flares up every once in a while. So Putin is fighting a proxy war in Syria. And despite what many of my friends online say, yeah, Assad is an asshole, but many of the people in Syria seem to prefer an asshole over a radical. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you rather deal with an asshole than a radical? Wouldn't you rather deal with, I'm not even sure who I could use as, Dick Cheney. He's an asshole. Even if you like him, you have to admit he's a bit of an asshole. Wouldn't you rather deal with a Dick Cheney rather than an Obama? Obama is a radical. I'm not talking about radical Muslim, but he is definitely a radical. Cheney, he's just an asshole. So how many of you would rather deal with the radical? That is much of what's going on in Syria. People are choosing a known evil rather than an unknown evil. Yet it is still a bloody civil war. And the Middle East itself has proven that if you give them a form of government where power resides in the people, that the people will pick someone based on religion. And I can hear the liberals screaming, but that's what the conservatives do in the USA. No, our argument is constitutional. That's completely different. You don't understand that because you don't support our Constitution. So shut the hell up, liberals. But they pick somebody based on religion, which is why the Muslim Brotherhood was able to gain power. And once these religious radicals, these radical Muslims, gain power, they have that same desire, the caliphate. They want to form Sharia law because they are the most extreme, the most traditional. They believe that the best way to protect their population from the evils of the West is to go back to the old ways. That's why you have so many dictators in the Middle East, because they can keep their people under control. That's why you had Mubarak in Egypt, you had Gaddafi in Libya, you have King what's-his-name in Jordan, you have the royals in Kuwait, in Saudi Arabia, you had Saddam in Iraq, you had Assad in Syria. These people need strong arm leadership. You can call me an asshole for saying that, but it is true. And when they no longer need it, they will be able to stand up, fight for change themselves, and hopefully we will have good enough intelligence on the ground to know that these are actually rebels that should be supported, that they are not such a small minority that they will be crushed, that they are a large enough majority to actually force positive, modern change upon the government. So yes, just a very long and random ranting on the situation in the Middle East. But 101, how will you deal with the caliphate? How will you deal with ISIS? Am I running for president? Air power. I would completely obliterate them from the air. And not none of this targeted strikes. I'd let A-10s just strafe entire areas. I would let B-52s carpet bomb the hell out of areas. I would remind them that we can reach out and touch them at any time, at any place. Just something for them to remember. Well, I've dragged this out too long, and I'm just going to wish all of you great people on the right much love. Bye-bye.